Welcome to Crim City. I'm Mark Murray.
I'm Josh Hanrahan.
And today we're going to talk about some new developments in the way that you can acquire large quantities of drugs on social media, which you obviously trawl all the time. This week on Crim City, we're going to expose a new way of drug distribution that's now currently being used.
Yeah, big story we've broken in the Daily Telegraph about how big-time drug importers, suppliers are getting their drugs from the ships to the streets through Instagram.
Basically, you can set yourself up via Instagram as a middleman drug dealer. That's what this is offering, isn't it?
Essentially, that's how it works. So this page, when you open it, it's showing different types of drugs: ecstasy, MDMA, magic mushrooms, ice, heroin, all the way through to cocaine.
I've never seen this amount.
This page show its legitimacy and the fact that, you know, you can get this stuff that is coming in fresh. They are posting videos of these bricks of cocaine as they come in. I'll just open one up now. You can hear the music there as they're cutting their cocaine.
Really, it just gets quicker and quicker. I don't know.
But
not that I know how cocaine works, but I'd imagine. So how would you order it?
So then at the top of that Instagram page, there's a link which takes you to Telegram, which is an encrypted messaging service.
Heard of that one.
You have heard of that one, used by a lot of people in the underworld because it is intended to provide you some protection from police who are watching on and, you know.
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement, exactly.
I know some law enforcement that use it.
And then they continue. We have well-organised pickups anytime here, which starts from orders worth $12,000. Anything less than that, they deliver. And when they say they deliver, they don't do it face-to-face. They mail it to you.
I know that a lot of people look for vacant houses or for sales, or so that's a safe house, so it can't be traced back to you. And that's why a lot of real estate agents were being approached by drug dealers to find houses that were empty or safe to have places mailed to so that it can't be traced to them. And they can watch the letterbox for a little while to make sure the cops aren't watching or surveilling when there's a drop.
Exactly. And they're saying here, you know, somebody from Canberra who's ordered 50 grams of OK Coke, 30 grams of meth and 14 grams of MDMA.
Wow. Hell of a party there.
You know, they're talking about what's available in Sydney, Perth and Melbourne this weekend.
I tell you, there's 120 kilos less available. I just got a phone call, and the Border Force have actually seized 120 kilos from a Sydney container.
Yeah, and so where do they go to from there?
They say it's a live operation, so we're not getting a real lot of information, but there's going to be somebody out there who's now going to be down 120 kilos of cocaine. And at the moment, some are saying the market's flooded. It's everywhere, with cocaine particularly, and it's down to under 200,000 a kilo when it lands on the dock. Both the crooks and the cops are saying there's a lot around, and that's why it's dropped. But I don't know, but I'm hearing that at the street level, it doesn't seem to have dropped. The big guys here are only paying less than 200,000 a kilo. It was at 350 at one stage.
A kilo?
Yeah. So they're now still charging out on the streets 300 to 500 a gram.
It's really interesting when you talk about the market being flooded, because I know I was speaking to somebody recently who's no longer in the New South Wales Police Force, but was...
For legitimate reasons?
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure they left of their own accord.
They did. But they were talking about drug dealing during COVID and how the roads were empty.
And so it made it very hard to distribute drugs.
Yeah, and what it did lead to is not only were you at much greater risk of being pulled over if you were a drug dealer, but because of that risk, they were carrying more drugs on them. Normally what they do is, you know, when they get to a level of money to make sure they don't get pulled over by police and lose that cash, they'd go back to the safe house, drop that off, pick up some more drugs. You know, they're operating in small levels. But during COVID, because of the risk of travelling, they would go out with larger amounts of drugs and therefore carry larger amounts of money. And so some of the seizures they made during COVID, you know, you've got drug dealers going around with $20,000 in their middle console.
And that's probably why the price was going skyrocketing. In fact, the commission, which is believed to be run by the Comanchero
Bikie gang,
during COVID, the price had dropped, basically saying any major importation that lands in Sydney or if not in Australia, they will protect it, but you have to pay a tax to them. But they were kind of really good about it. They said, look, you're going to pay this tax, but you're going to get a whole lot of services. We're going to make sure you don't get ripped off. We're going to make sure that, this transportation is all covered. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we'll keep the price of drugs up on the street and everybody's happy.
That was the main focus, wasn't it?
It was a business model.
Keeping everything at a level playing field. It's come a long way from having your Coke guy at the pub on a Friday night who you'd walk up to and buy openly.
Yeah. And as you said, there is on Instagram, a brick of Coke as advertising. But likewise, we do find while they get more sophisticated, so do the ways they can get caught. I know one guy who he would still only do face-to-face talking in swimming pools so that you've got no clothing. That's another frequent one, is to take your clothes off and get in the pool so that they know they don't have any listening devices. Wow. So that's what brings them undone is the fact that sometimes they're over-reliance on technology, not going back to the tried and true way where you talk without any chance of being picked up.
Yeah. Well, the police are aware of this and they're looking into it. But I know going through some of the messages in that Telegram group, there's screenshots that they've posted of happy customers. That's what they're trying to, portray that these are customers. Look, you can order from us. No, not their faces. But what it did have was a name or two. So, that's part of the danger, isn't it?
Taking drugs doesn't really help your brain cell count, does it?
No.
I mean, seriously, why would you do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the risk, So if you don't know how it's going to end up, and a lot of people just have their name if they're doing it through Telegram. They just have. I think mine is literally Josh Henry. Moz, you've seen different police tactics over the years in terms of cracking down on drugs.
There are a lot of things that cops keep very secretive. And you said with that cocaine brick, and the person had gloves on, right? That's because cops can get fingerprints of photos off social media. Crazy. If they get a good enough photo of a finger or a hand, they believe they can get fingerprints. I know it sounds kind of like something you watch on CSI TV, but just as they're starting to catch up how the crooks are going, in court, how they catch them is now being revealed. So it's this constant cat and mouse and evolution.
2 years ago, we did a really big series called Powder Keg in the paper, which went for a week and focused on cocaine, which, as anybody who's been to Sydney will know, is the drug of choice for much of the city. And as part of that, I went out with Redfern Res, which is that smaller squad of cops who
target local crime problems. They'll go for all the local dealers in that area or hotspots where they know everyone's taking cocaine.
Yeah, and they were really kind of at the forefront of targeting dialer dealers, which is where you send a text and somebody comes with in their car with the bags, you get in, blah, blah, blah.
And we occasionally get invited out with the police on operations because, one, they like the media exposure, and it's important for the public to know that these guys are out there doing their best.
Yeah.
Two, if you're going to be out there dealing or buying, the cops are going to get you.
Yeah. And so I went out on a Friday night. We had the briefing beforehand and they're talking about the areas they're going to target. We moved from the city to Bondi, pulling over cars. And it's quite interesting to see the police as they watch. We were outside the Royal Hotel on Bondi Road in Bondi, and there was a cop dressed in, jeans and a hoodie. He had a vape. He did. He had a vape and he was smashing his vape to fit in with the crew. And so he's standing outside and just trying to look like a punter waiting to get into the pub. But in reality, he's watching people. He's got his radio and he's saying to the other guys, right, watch this guy, bang, gets in a car. The car would follow them down the road. He'd get out, walk back towards the pub. Well, you don't get an Uber for 50 metres and then walk back to where you come from. Bang, drug deal's gone down. The guy outside the pub grabs the customer, pull the car over, and that's when you go through the centre console. And it's crazy how sophisticated some of these drug dealers' setups in their cars are. These hidden consoles. And we were talking about it yesterday. There's an alleged member of the Alamein crime clan who police did a search on his home and went to his ute, and oddly, somehow they knew the specific order that you needed to press buttons.
You put a blinker on.
Yep.
And then you might have to hit a certain button on the radio.
Music volume up. And
then it's like a spring trap.
Pops open this secret
And
compartment.
there are guys in certain areas of Sydney who specialise in making secret compartments in vehicles.
Yeah.
It's a business for them. And they hide guns as well. And in fact, they've got to the point now, they're X-raying cars and finding stuff because the compartments are that good. Like the X-rays they have out at the container... Shipping containers to get major drug deals. They have like industrial strength X-rays to try and catch where these concealed drugs are. Nearly all crime begins with drugs. When the heroin problem was massive, breaking in this car theft, and it was desperate junkies. And now I think you'll find you've got coke addicts who end up being white-collar crime. They start stealing from employees, and that's why cops will never stop.
There's lawyers who've started advertising on TikTok about this is what to do if you get caught with drugs, if you get caught with a bag of coke in your pocket, and come to me. They're literally targeting the market that is weekend pub goers who get caught with a bag.
90% of people caught with a small amount of cocaine will go to court and get no conviction recorded. Don't do it again. Mm-hmm. For all intents and purposes, we have legalised carrying cocaine once, in a small amount. Dope is as good as legalised. You will never see hardly anyone ever charged purely for possession of a small amount of dope. It just doesn't happen. They just take it and say, bugger off. They put your name down in pencil, It's like, that's to the point it's got.
The night that I was out, the focus is on the drug dealers because they really want to get their phones because their phones are their whole business.
And
that's
that
what
also get people up the chain.
Exactly. But
that's why drug dealers want drug dealers' phones.
Yeah, totally. That's why we see fights between drug dealers.
Our appetite for drugs is known around the world. It's our appetite and our willingness to pay top dollar.
Yes.
Cocaine here is 300 a gram, and everyone comes back from England and go, oh, mate,
I know.
20 quid,
you
know. The reason our market is flooded is because they make so much money. Everybody wants a slice of the Australian drug market.
It's
so
crazy.
Profitable.
Remember we had that meeting the other day with the cop who said that the stuff they are putting in cocaine and cutting cocaine with now is worse than they've ever seen.
Yeah.
They said it's almost like, particularly post-COVID, just people are so desperate to flood the market that they are cutting it with things that literally cause cancer. That is what they're known for, those chemicals. Levamisole, it's an animal worming agent, actually. They found that. And then phenacetin, drug that is banned in most countries because it causes cancer and damages kidneys. So, makes you think.
That wraps up Crim City for this week, where we've basically explored the changing face of distribution of cocaine and the fact the cops have got their never-ending war. Thanks for listening to Crim City. I'm Mark Murray.
I'm Josh Hanrahan. As always, you can see us weekly on TikTok. We go by the same name there, Crim City, but that's on the Daily Telegraph's TikTok page, isn't it, Moz?
Yeah, apparently. I don't know how to get on TikTok. But my son says I'm really good. And so the girl next to me on the poker machines at the beach road. Anyway. This was produced and edited by Jasper Lee and executive producer Dan Blocks. Okay.
For more crime. Okay.
For more crime, go out on the street and commit some. Keep us in work. Sorry, where were we?
For more crime stories, go to dailytelegraph.com.au.